Good afternoon, Mr. Chrisman's AP Government and Politics class. Today we will be discussing Roe v. Wade, which was argued in 1972 and decided in 1973. Now, this is a huge case, and we'll get into it right now. Now, Roe v. Wade revolves around abortions, and this is a huge matter in regards to women's rights. And to this day, it's still being argued. Over here, we have a pro-choice advocate, who would normally be Democrat, and on the left is a pro-life advocate who is usually Republican. Now, before Roe v. Wade was decided, abortion was not completely illegal. In fact, only 44 states made abortion illegal for most cases, the exception being when the mother's life was at risk. In the majority of states, this means that abortion was illegal in case of rape and unplanned pregnancy, and most people, if they wanted an abortion, they still would have an abortion, except this would be done in low quality situations with people that aren't really qualified to oversee an abortion. And right here we have a cartoon depicting this. You see a guy that has a tool that's not really meant for abortions and doesn't look all that friendly. And over here we have an experienced surgeon. Now I'd like you to take a look at this political cartoon. As I'm sure you noticed right here, this is talking about how important abortion is and how it should really be a private matter, but instead it's decided by people who really should have no say in abortion. On the other hand, we have another one, and I'm sure this is quick to understand. Here we have babies who are in heaven, and the message of the cartoon is basically trying to say that abortion is killing babies and preventing these kids from having lives. And I know this sounds kind of counterintuitive, but bear with me. We have liberals arguing pro-choice on the right and pro-life advocates who are conservatives or Democrat or Republicans, sorry, on the left right here. And this is basically the premise of their argument. Now both sides have a lot of arguments, and pro-choice normally sticks to fetuses are not actually alive. Women have a right to what happens in regards to their body, and that the government should have no control over something like abortion. And pro-life, on the other hand, argues that fetuses are still human babies and that it's morally wrong, and that adoption would be a viable alternative to abortion, that if you're not ready to take care of a kid, someone else could, and that women who do not wish to become pregnant may switch to other forms of contraception. Now, let's talk about the constitutional basis. Now, pro-life normally argues around natural rights, that all people are guaranteed the right to life, liberty, and property. And I'm sure you read this in the Declaration of Independence. This is a huge part of American society. And Republicans are arguing that killing the baby before it's born denies the baby this right. Democrats, on the other hand, argue that the Ninth Amendment and the 14th Amendment protect abortion. The Ninth Amendment basically protects the government from infringing on rights that aren't necessarily enumerated in the Constitution, but should not be delegated to the government. And the 14th Amendment gives women equal protection under law and protects them from jurisdiction that should not be covered by the government. These two do go hand in hand, and the 14th Amendment is more important for this case. So, alright, so in regards to the actual court case, now we have Roe, a resident of the state of Texas, who wanted to have an abortion, but Texas law prohibited abortion except in cases where the mother's life was at risk. And she filed a class action lawsuit challenging the constitutionality of this law, and we will get into more about the actual decision in a second here. And you have to understand that Roe was not the only one to challenge the law. In fact, there were two other people, Halford and the Doe's family. And the Doe's family challenged this law, but Miss Doe was actually single and did not have a baby or was not pregnant either. So the court decided that she did not have standing to sue. Basically, she didn't have enough interest in the case. Now, after arguing twice, Roe did win, and in fact, abortion is still not legal under all circumstances, but it's allowed when the fetus is not viable. Now, viability is determined based on whether or not the fetus can survive outside the mother's womb. And this is really controversial and it's still being argued today. I feel like this cartoon really covers that. As you can see right here, this would be a church minister or priest, and people that believe in pro-life argue that the human becomes a human at the point of conception. But from a scientific or, I guess, legal standpoint, it's not actually at the point where a baby becomes a human. The point at which a baby becomes a human is considered when it can live on its own. Now, this has significance outside of just abortion. Judicial implementation is the key to Roe v. Wade, and Republican states like Texas are trying to restrict this by restricting access to abortion and things like that. But Democratic states are actually supporting this case because interest groups like NARAL and NOW have a big advantage by this decision. And as we learned earlier in this chapter, judicial activists often support the decision made by Burger's court because it's such a landmark decision, and advocates of judicial restraint can argue that this power should have remained with the states. Now I have some sources and additional resources if you'd like to look deeper into this. And that is it. Thanks for watching.